And now let me turn to Nate Koenig, who is a senior robotics engineer, also the chief technology officer of the Open Source Robotics Foundation. Now, you also brought a video of something called the TurtleBot. We're going to go ahead and run that video, and then we'll chat. Let's go ahead and roll that tape.
TurtleBot is a mobile robotic platform to help you fulfill your vision of what robots can do for you. Whether you're a beginner just starting to learn about robots, or you're doing bleeding-edge robotics research in perception and multi-robot coordination, the TurtleBot will let you build cool apps and share them with others. TurtleBot builds on top of an iRobot Create and an Xbox Kinect to give a mobile platform for seeing your world in 3D. TurtleBot is powered by the open source ROS platform. It comes with lots of great libraries, tools, and applications for you to take advantage of when you're building your own applications. It includes software for detecting and tracking people. Out of the box, you'll be able to build maps of your home, and then tell your robot to drive from your kitchen to your living room. It can also take pictures around your house and stitch them into 360-degree panoramas. For more information, please visit willowgarage.com/turtlebot.
Okay, so that was the TurtleBot, and that's produced by Willow Garage. Now, what is the connection between Willow Garage and the Open Source Robotics Foundation?
Well, the Open Source Robotics Foundation got its start at Willow Garage, and a bunch of us left Willow Garage and started the Open Source Robotics Foundation about 2 years ago. And we got our start basically by having this notion of creating an organization that the community could get behind in order to promote open source robotics and the software behind them.
Now, why is that important to make it open source?
So open source lowers the bar to entry for everyone from researchers to educators to high school students. It makes it much easier to get involved in a robotics community and use the software that's freely available and also contribute back.
Does it look like robots might be moving in the direction of standardization, where you have a standard platform that robots can be built upon through open sourcing?
Sure. So standards are always tricky. Anytime one person defines a standard, someone else will define a different standard. But we would like to say that the robot operating system ROS is quickly becoming the standard in robot control software, primarily because it's so widely used around the world, from universities to commercial entities and even NASA.
Now, I understand that the foundation is involved in a competition run by DARPA. What's that all about?
So DARPA is a branch of the government that does advanced research programs, and they...
I believe they invented the internet, among many other things.
They did invent the internet, which we all take great advantage of. And they started this project to advance robots so that they could help people in disaster response scenarios. So this all comes out of the Fukushima disaster and the ability to hopefully get robots into a situation to aid people in situations where people cannot go, such as a nuclear power plant. So the idea is to have teams from around the world develop software and hardware to build these robots that are capable of interacting in human-like environments.
I understand that in the TurtleBot robot, it uses something called the Xbox Kinect, which I've heard of. What exactly does that do?
So the Xbox Kinect is kind of a unique device in the robotics community. It was originally developed by Microsoft to play games, and allows people to track their bodies, detect their hands, and so forth. It's also a nice tool to put on a robot, as in the TurtleBot, where the robot can now detect you. It can also detect objects around it, so it can use it for mapping, obstacle avoidance, and so forth.
Now, the film said that you could create your own apps for the TurtleBot. What would be an example of an app? What could you program it to do?
So you can program the TurtleBot to do basically anything you want. It's one of the nice features of having open source software. You can modify it and contribute back and use software that other people have developed. So some people have made it follow them around their house. You can do blob tracking to follow a ball. You can map your house and have it go from point A to point B.
How do you communicate with it? So in that movie, it went from the kitchen to the living room. How do you tell it what to do?
So this is one of the nice features about ROS, is that you can have access to a great tool set where you can visualize and see exactly what is going on in the robot. So you can bring up a window that says, this is what the robot sees, and you can click on a point and say, go to this location, and the robot and the software underneath will take care of that for you.
What do you see as some of the most practical applications for robots? What are they really good for?
So that's a question that's very application specific. So the largest users of robots happen to be in industry. So things that build your car, or that are used in logging or mining type of operations. So these are all well-defined areas in which robots can operate safely. So the next frontier will be moving robots into the home.
Now, do you define a robot as any machine that can carry out programmed instructions? So, for example, a drone aircraft might be considered a type of robot, or something that does welds in an automobile factory could be considered a robot?
So this is a question that will always be an endless argument among roboticists. So a robot could be anything from a thermostat to a fully autonomous vehicle that can sense and act in its environment. I personally like to define a robot that has some set of sensors, some set of actuators, and it can have some set of mobility in order to not just be fixed to an environment, move around, interact with people, other objects, other robots.
Early conceptions of robots often had them as being of humanoid appearance. Is there much movement in that direction? Is there much value to having robots resemble humans?
So the value of having robots resemble humans is this notion that we have an environment built around us that is designed for humans. So it makes sense to have a robot that can pick up this cup or use a tool that we are familiar with. The complexity is that you have to build a humanoid robot, which is rough with problems such as trying to walk, trying to control multiple limbs. It's much easier to build a simpler mobile robot designed for a very specific task.
Okay, I've got a lot more questions, but we do have to move along, so I'd like to thank you for that. And now I'm going to turn to Karen Shakespeare Koenig, and you also brought a video from SRI, and we're going to look at that video, and then we'll chat. So let's go ahead and see Karen's video from SRI.